Hey guys, Adam Fenig here with Fenig Equipment. You're tuned into the Talking Shed. We got Tim Gunkelman here with Copperhead Ag, and we're going to talk about some wear parts from RK Products and Copperhead Ag. Some small tweaks that you can do to your planter that make a huge difference. Tim, let's talk first about this weld-on kit. This is probably the thing that I get asked the most about, not only on the Deeres, but the Kinseys, because you know, when we look at a closing wheel, I find it hard to subscribe or prescribe, I should say, a closing wheel to a guy if his tailpiece can wiggle 2 inches each way, because you'll never get it adjusted. So what have you seen with those?
So this is the closing wheel frame repair kit. And what we do on a worn John Deere tailpiece is we weld this collar onto the side of the frame and then slap a bearing in there. So it's pretty cheap fix per row, and that takes the side shake out of your tailpiece.
Which, sorry to interrupt, but I would say most of the tailpieces are worn. Like,
Yeah.
unless it's a brand new planter.
Right. And you know, if you do buy a brand new planter, you don't have to weld the collar on. You can just do the bearing, which is what some guys do that have known the RK kit collection for a long time. So
right.
If not a lot of guys think about this, but if you ever go up and shake your tailpiece, like you said, you can potentially move your seed and then cause it to not, you know, germinate evenly, which is a big yield hit.
Yeah, we talk a lot about the spacing down here on these closing wheels, and that's you know, doesn't matter if your tailpiece can walk an inch each way. We want that 1.25 to 1.75 gap depending on your closing wheel, and we want that so that we're walking firmly on each side of that furrow. But if it can move, this wheel may be running right on top of that seed. Obviously, that's going to create some issues down the road. So a very cost-effective way to get this portion right here back to new again, tighter than new, and you won't ever have to touch it again. So available on Deeres and Kinseys, and you saw the Kinsey version in the video that I did there a while back. Let's move over to the gauge wheel arm, probably the next most popular thing on my list anyway that I see. And again, there's a bearing functionality in this, but you get some of those sloppy, and we saw it on that Kinsey. Again, gauge wheel arms, talk about what you're seeing here.
So single sealed bearing, just in there with the snap ring. It's actually the same bearing that's in the Furrow Cruiser, and non-greasable. So on your factory arm, you got to go down and grease every single arm every single day. And then we also just have a threaded stud that you just thread right into the planter. The other thing that's cool about this is the wear clip. So in that mustache, that gauge wheel arm comes up and hits that mustache, you're wearing into this clip rather than the arm, which keeps your depth even. A lot of guys end up flipping their arms because they have a divot from that mustache, and this prevents that.
Yep. Obviously, seed depth is extremely crucial, and you can see over time as you've got hydraulic down pressure and even high-speed planters, we're going to wear a divot into there pretty quick. That adds up on your seed depth. Not only that, it you know, hurts the integrity of the gauge wheel arm. But a big advantage there. And then what is hard to see here, that honestly was one of my favorite things about this, is this stud. We can screw this stud into the cast part of the row unit, and now you can just easily hang your gauge wheel arm on here instead of having to juggle the bolt and the gauge wheel on there with the factory stuff. So that stud is a huge deal. It makes it easier down the road when you're changing seed disc openers. Makes it so much easier to get in there into the guts of your planter and check out the planter insides. From there, why don't you tell me a little bit about the seed tube guard?
So the seed tube guard is a high wear guard, so it's going to last a lot longer than your OEM from the factory. If your fertilizer comes down right next to the seed or with the seed tube guard, we make an extended fertilizer tube assembly that's easier, you know, to attach the seed, the fertilizer up top. But this is a very effective way to go to as far as protecting your seed tube, because you know, if you don't have a very good protection of the seed tube, then you're going to start causing issues.
I really like the high wear aspect of that and how wide that is. That's a very, very stout, wide-based seed tube guard, and a lot of guys really like that. Now, when you order these kits, they're going to come in bags like this. They're going to have all the hardware in them, clearly labeled part numbers and stuff like that. So they're very easy to use. There's a lot of user guides and manuals on their website. Things like this can be intimidating when you're going to weld on that cast. It's super easy, doesn't take a welding certification to get that done, and a lot of things to digest here. But as we're moving into winter and into spring, these are some things I want you to focus on. Look at these little things, because man, can they make a big difference to your planter. I'm sure you've seen it with customers.
Yeah, and we're not talking just brand new 1700 planters. I mean, this gauge wheel arm repair kit goes all the way back into the 7300 planters, 7200 planters, and not even just Deere. I mean, Kinsey, Case IH, all the way back to the 955s up through the 1200s and the 2000 series, which a lot of going to the Case IH, a lot of those guys like that because there's not an option out there for a gauge wheel arm for them most of the time. And so doing that kit, it will fix it for the life of the planter.
Exactly. So, you know, when you talk about seed tube guard, new gauge wheel arms and bushings and the weld-on kit, you know, for that $300, $400, $500 a row at the top end, you're going to have a row unit that's super tight, square, and that is the foundation. It's going to be hard to talk about uneven emergence or issues you're having if your row units can wiggle side to side and you don't have proper base foundation. That's where it starts. Get new seed disc openers on there and get that base going. So that's what we're talking about today. The wear parts, give us a call and we can get you fixed up. Thanks for tuning in.